Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm doing this video because I've been really observant of this whole thing with the actor Jussie Smollett. And without further ado, I'm going to get into this video because this gets messier and messier. It's gone from messy to messier by the moment. So let's just get into where this is starting to lead to. And it's really getting serious. It's getting even more serious than the initial supposedly alleged attack. But let me let you see this video here. This is an activist. And so this is a Los Angeles-based activist. And so I'm going to flip back to it. It's a LA-based civil rights activist that calls for the arrest of Jussie Smollett. He believes that he lied about the alleged attack. So I'm going to let you hear a bit of this video. It's not very long, I don't believe, but it's getting pretty serious. Let's just say that, from what I witnessed, I witnessed a bit of this, but it didn't look very good at all.
Islamic Hope is calling upon the arrest and criminal prosecution of Empire star and actor Jussie Smollett. We believe Jussie Smollett lied about being the victim of a hate crime and being assaulted, and for us, it's a slap in the face. Jussie Smollett put people's lives at risk and could have created a situation that was much more damaging to those who are African American and those who do identify with the LGBTQ community. We have many members of the Black community and the LGBT community who have been the victims of racism and hate crimes. So for Smollett to say that he was a victim of racism and hate crime, and we believe that it's a lie, certainly is an injustice to those true victims of racism and hate crimes who are members of the African American community and the LGBT community. And that's why Jussie Smollett must be brought to justice for lying. At the end of the day, we believe Smollett at the beginning. We gave him the benefit of the doubt. But over the last few days, we've seen this campaign of lies by Smollett continue to be unraveled. And that's why we believe Smollett is lying and should be brought to justice for lying to authorities. Also, Smollett could have created a race war. There are many African Americans and many members of the LGBT community who were very upset and outraged by Smollett claiming he was attacked and victimized. So there were some of those community whose thoughts are more extreme. They wanted to retaliate. I wanted activists to call for calm and peace, and we're hopeful that calm and peace will continue. But at the end of the day, Smollett claims of being abused and attacked and the victim of a hate crime and racism is nothing but a big lie, and he needs to stop it. So if Jussie Smollett really wants to do what's right, he'll stop lying. He'll stop this campaign of lies, because we believe he's lying, and at the end of the day, Smollett really wants to help. Just apologize. Just say you're sorry, you made a mistake, but stop lying. Stop this lying, because Jussie, you're losing credibility, and at the end of the day, more and more people are not believing you. So we want you to know that if you say you're sorry, that we'll support you and forgive you, but you must be brought to justice and held accountable at the end of the day for what you've done wrong, because you put many lives in danger, many lives at risk in the African American community and the LGBT community. So right now we'll have some more comments. Thank you, Brother Ali. Peace and love. My name is sure thing. Just tell them your name. Okay. Peace and love. My name is Asami Al-Basir-Il. That is A-S-S-A-M-I, capital A-L-B-A-S-I-R, capital E-L. I mean, in a nation and world of division, we're here to speak out against that. The world is already divided, and it's very unfortunate. I agree with Brother Ali. I stand with Brother Ali. I stand in the face of justice and purity here, and it's very unfortunate that Mr. Smollet used his platform for something very, very low down. And I agree with Brother Ali. We asked him for a sincere apology. We're asking that he come out, and everybody that conspired with him come out and give a sincere apology. The police hours were exhausted. That could have been exhausted on something more meaningful in Chicago. Not nothing as foolish and very, very spiteful and undermining as Brother Smollet did. So again, in a world of division, fake news, alternative facts, we just want this brother to come out, speak the truth, so people can get on the same page. There's too much division in this world and in the nation for a sick act like this. It's a sick hoax, and prosecution is the bare minimum. And again, I stand with Brother Ali. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Only Verizon is ranked #1 by these metrics. #1 in free open signal mobile experience zones. #1 in video streaming according to Nielsen. And #1 in network quality.
Apparently that is a commercial. I'm trying to get past that.
In a major twist, law enforcement sources are now saying Chicago police are investigating whether Empire star Jussie Smollett may have orchestrated a hoax enlisting 2 men to stage a vicious attack. Then I look down and I see that there's a rope around it. Police are telling ABC News they want to talk to Smollett urgently, saying, "We have been in touch with Smollett's attorneys. We've made our intentions clear." Smollett's attorney releasing a statement saying, as a victim of a hate crime who has cooperated with the police investigations, Jussie Smollett is angered and devastated by recent reports that the perpetrators are individuals he is familiar with. He has now been further victimized by claims attributed to these alleged perpetrators that Jussie played a role in his own attack. Nothing is further from the truth, and anyone claiming otherwise is lying. According to sources, the 2 brothers, seen in this surveillance image, agreed to cooperate after being confronted with evidence they bought the rope found around Smollett's neck and were threatened with battery and hate crime charges. Police are saying the 2 men are no longer considered potential suspects and confirm the brothers have a relationship with Smollett, one of them appearing as an extra on Empire. On January 29th, the actor claimed he was brutally beaten in a Chicago alley by 2 assailants who tied a noose around his neck and shouted derogatory slurs before dousing him with a bleach-like chemical. In an interview with ABC's Robin Roberts last week, the actor defiant, slamming those who doubt his story. Who the would make something like this up or add something to it or whatever it may be? Zachary Keish, ABC News, Chicago.
Everyone's got. Okay, so there you have it. This, unfortunately, it begins to get messier and messier and messier as the day goes on. It's like one of these stories that never seems to go away. And I had been paying attention to it because I noticed that when it first happened, I was like, wow. But then as time went on, the story started to change. And I said, uh-oh, we're going into this area where people are starting to doubt the credibility of Jussie Smollett. And then it turned a whole nother way when the police went ahead and did an investigation and stated that they had asked the 2 brothers who were allegedly the attackers to cooperate, and that the 2 brothers, they, as in the 2 brothers who were supposedly called the attackers, had agreed to cooperate with the police department. And they had claimed that they were paid by Jussie Smollett to stage the attack. So it gets crazy, crazy, crazy. And I read an article yesterday, and I know some people have seen this whole debacle unfold. But this article was reading where some people, I mean, famous by name, famous people, pretty much rallied around Jussie Smollett initially when the attack was announced over the internet, over social media, over the news, and on various media forums. And what makes this really hard is, I'll say this. For one, this whole story is getting more and more confusing. The other is that if you really look at it, just as the activist said in the beginning, where I showed you the LA-based activist and the other brother that was talking about how they felt about this whole shenanigan, if you will, that there are real members of the Black community who, once again, I feel like I'm pretty much almost saying what I said in the last video I did where it was about lesbian Black women, how they're pretty much thrown under the bus and underrepresented. And it also involves racism. And a lot of times you don't see the gay community as being acknowledged unless you see the white gay community. And mind you, that's usually the wealthier white gay community. And a lot of times the face of lesbians is Ellen DeGeneres and all of the famous wealthy white lesbians. And anytime you see any Black women, you don't really hear them talk a lot about their relationships. They pretty much stay off of that topic and they just talk about their achievements, what types of entertainment they've been involved in, what movies they're going to star in. They really stay off of their relationships. When it's white women that are lesbians, they talk about their achievements and their sexuality. And then sometimes their achievements are so great because of being white and wealthy that they don't even see the sexuality anymore, and they're pretty much put to the forefront based on that privilege. And I mentioned that in the previous video, and so I'm reiterating that. And with this, it seems to be like the activist was saying, and I'm repeating, a slap in the face to the Black community that is also identifying with LGBTQ members in that sense, because a lot of Black gay and lesbian people that are members of the LGBTQ community, as well as being members of the Black community, and I'm saying that and stressing that, are pretty much thrown under the bus. They're underrepresented and they're treated very harshly. And a lot of it is not just because of the identity of the sexuality alone, it's also because of race. And so this is why this comes as a really, really bad situation here, because if in fact, which I'm not really saying or calling whether Jussie Smollett lied or not, because like some other people were saying, that there are some people like under here, this article that is a co-article of the one that we just looked at. Smollett developments leave some baffled and some are outraged. So some people are extremely confused because they don't know who's telling the truth and who's telling a lie. Some people are very, very persistent about this case, and they follow it and they feel as though that Jussie Smollett is not being truthful, and they want action taken behind that, because the fact that you have Black people who are gay and lesbian who are treated so harshly because of being Black, and then gay and lesbian on top of that. And most oftentimes, believe it or not, Other black people will treat other black people who identify as gay and lesbian very badly. There are some that will treat you extremely harshly, or they'll have these formed opinions about, what you're looking at. Are you looking at me? Are you trying to sleep with me? And, oh, look at those gays, look at those lesbians, those butches, those, all the horrible names. We won't even go down the list. So I don't want to get into that. But a lot of times what people see in their minds when it comes to black lesbians, which is always pretty much the stereotype, is the dyke lesbian, or the butch lesbian, the hard lesbian, the hardcore lesbian. Like, for a great example is, if you seen the movie Set It Off and you seen Cleo was one of the characters that Queen Latifah played, the tough, heavy-set black woman that looks like she'll kick your ass type lesbian. They don't see women who are feminine and or have feminine look about them, or who maybe slightly tomboyish, but they still have the feminine look, but they identify as lesbian, or maybe they don't even want to identify as lesbian, even though that's what, maybe how they live their life in secret, because of all of the stigma behind it, and all of the bashing and the threat of violence towards them. The other thing is, the guys usually tend to stay to themselves when they're African American, unless they have lots of friends or lots of support, or they feel empowered, um, because they're confident about who they are. Some will come out and others will stay closeted because of the threat of violence as well, where they just, only reveal their sexual identity to people that they're close to, that they feel that they can trust. And the women do the same likewise. So a lot of times, some people, it is not as obvious to tell whether they're gay or lesbian in the black community, and others it may be extremely obvious because they wear a certain clothing or look a certain way, and you just get the sense that they possibly may be in that category of gay and lesbian. There's sometimes some indicators, that strong indicators, that are given off by some women that she possibly may be lesbian. And that's not the case for everyone, however. So I'm just letting you know that, so everybody doesn't feel comfortable coming out and identifying who they are. But you'll have bad actors in the black community who will bash, who will hurt, who will threaten, who will make people's lives a living hell, even in the workplace. They will, poke fun of you. They'll say little things under their breath. They'll, vent their religious beliefs in order to try to intimidate you, to make you feel like something's wrong with you, and they're perfectly fine. And so a lot of times people won't come out and say, and don't feel obligated to say who they are, because of the fact that they feel threatened. And this happens a lot often in the black community. It's not talked about. It's usually swept under the rug. So when you see popular actors and actresses and entertainers that can feel some type of empowerment because they have money, and they have fame, and they have some type of identity in the world, it might be a little bit easier for them to come out and say what their are classify themselves with what their sexual identity is, because they're not, in a situation where they're not um, feeling threatened, or as threatened. And so for this story to develop as it has, for someone famous to be attacked, and he identifies as gay, and he happens to be in the black community, and he's a black LGBT, it would seem as though you would rally behind someone to say, well, even when you're famous and you're black and gay, you can be attacked. But if this man happens to not be telling the truth, Jussie Smollett, it is a slap in the face in the Black community because of the fact that you do have Black people who are gay and lesbian and identify it as such, or they don't come out and identify with their sexuality because of the fact of fear of retaliation from their other Black peers, and on top of that, other people from the outside who may not be Black, but the fear of the threat of violence or discrimination on the job or in various places. And so that comes to a very big disappointment for a lot of people that are Black and they're gay and lesbian, if in fact Jussie Smollett is not being truthful and not being honest about the circumstance, which he's still holding true, saying that he is telling the truth. So that's what makes people very confused at this moment. Now, I've heard people come out and state that they want to wait for the story to unravel more to see, in fact, if Jussie Smollett is telling the truth. Now, what I noticed too is that one lady that is famous, she came out and said in a previous article I was reading, where there have been other people that rally around Jussie Smollett, said she's not going to stop supporting gay and lesbian African American peoples that have had to deal with hate crimes. That this story here alone does not mean that now she doesn't support people who are in the LGBTQ community who happen to be of African American descent or African American that have been victims of hate crime. So that's where this leaves me. I feel the same way. I feel as though even if Jussie Smollett, if it turns out that he hasn't been honest and he hasn't been truthful, this is not a brush to paint broadly against the Black LGBTQ community because of what one or two people have done that have hurt a lot of people. So I just want to leave you with that. But anyway, what are your thoughts, your comments, and your feedback on this? Because this story is very troubling. Um, However, people are waiting to see if all of this has validity and holds some weight in court. So now, like early this morning, the news came on, and I noticed that they had brought the story up again, and they said that they were listing out some of the the things that can happen if Jussie Smollett is not being truthful. And so now I'm going to do something a little bit different here. I guess I'll play the devil's advocate on this, and then I'll leave this story because we're already confused enough as it is, wondering if there is some validity to this whole thing. The other thing is in fact, we know Jussie Smollett has admittedly been open about his sexuality, and he is Black. He's a gay man, and he has some popularity. He's on the TV series Empire, which is very successful series. I've watched some episodes. In the beginning, I didn't watch the episodes because I wasn't that turned on by it. But in the later episodes, I started to, it started to kind of grow on me to some degree. And I said, they're onto something here. This is not that bad. But anyway, sort of like looking at a Black soap opera on TV. So I'm saying this because of him being Black and gay. Do you think there's a possibility that he could be in a position where they're setting him up, Jussie Smollett, because of the fact that he's Black and he's gay, and that they're trying to make an example out of him so that they can further damage and bash the Black and gay and lesbian community? and throw them even further under the bus. Now, I'm going to leave you with that to think about, because that is another possibility. Now, I don't know who these two brothers are. They did show on the news earlier today that one of them was an extra on the Empire, and they both claimed to have some kind of, relationship of some sort with Jussie Smollett. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not confirming to say it is, but that is what they're right now currently investigating, how all of this is playing out. And so we don't know really what's all gone on. We know something went on. There could be a number of things that went on. And think about it. I'll say this. Black, gay, and lesbian people, sometimes you get in a relationship with some people, and if the relationship doesn't work out, sometimes people want to get back at you because they want to be with you, but they don't want to admit that they're the cause of the breakup. So a lot of times they'll target you, or they'll do something to mess up your credibility or to make you look like you're the bad person. And I've seen this happen, and I have some personal experience to know that, just because, you're in a gay or lesbian relationship doesn't mean everything can always go perfect. Sometimes it can go a whole nother way. And, gay and lesbian people, sometimes they'll be in good relationships, sometimes they'll be in miserable relationships, just like a regular straight couple would. And so sometimes you can have lovers or associates who get mad at you and they want to do things to mess you up or mess up your name or your credibility. And so this could also be a situation that Jussie Smollett is experiencing, and it's hard for him to express that. So I'm just, adding a few tidbits in there so that the possibility could end up being this. Yeah, one of the guys was an extra on the set. Yeah, and they're saying that this situation here, that, he claimed that he was attacked by these two brothers. But what were these two brothers involved with Jussie Smollett over? Was there a relationship going on? Did something happen? Were they friends? Was one lusting after him? One wanted to be with him? Maybe did they have a fling and it didn't work out? Now they're targeting him because it didn't work out? There's a whole lot of things that we could come up with. Anyway, with that being said, I'm going to let the story go. Like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for listening. What do you think? Smollet developments leave some baffled and others outraged. So, I'm going to leave this story. What's the truth? What do you think? Thanks for listening.